Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Fred Achando channel and let us do politics. Before we get into politics, I want to take this moment and thank you for being part of us and for the support that you provide to this channel. Now, on this video, I want to take this opportunity and explain to the Nyanza residents, especially the Luo Nyanza, that they will have to wait for a little while before Raila Amolo Odinga introduces officially his running mate, the Iron Lady Martha Karua, to them. Ever since Martha Karua was unveiled as the Azimio running mate, as Raila Amolo's running mate, she has traversed several parts of this country. They have worked with Raila and presided over several rallies. But there is one place that they have not stepped in. That is the Luo Nyanza, the larger Luo Nyanza. And there is a reason. It is not by default. It is not by accident that Raila Amolo Odinga and Martha Karua are not keen on visiting the Luo Nyanza any soon. Let's begin by looking at what happened yesterday. Raila Amolo Odinga led a host of leaders in Kisii County, where they rallied support and campaigned for one Raila Amolo Odinga as the presidential candidate, and leaders who are vying different positions in Azimio. If you watched what transpired, you will know that politics is not an easy game. Because it all started before this meeting that there were already two camps in Kisii. One camp was being led by Simba Arati and those who support Simba Arati's bid to become the governor of Kisii County under the umbrella, under an ODM ticket. The other camp was led by John Badi, Governor Ongwae, people like Timothy Bosire, Sam Ongeri, Omingo Magara, and all the other Kisii leaders or aspirants who are vying in different positions in Kisii. And so battle lines had been drawn. So when they finally converged in Kisii yesterday, this battle for political supremacy played openly before Raila. Because Simba Arati had actually arranged his supporters very strategically. So much that when Simba Arati was called up in front to speak to the crowd, they were all over singing Arati, Arati, Arati. And it was choreographed to make sure that anybody watching, the media that was, taking all this, was to know that the kingpin is Simba Arati. And when the other aspirants like Governor the senator, with the current senator Ongwae or Ongeri, was called to speak, there was a lot of noise. They did not give anyone a chance to speak. I don't want to delve into whether this is wrong or right, but I'm just trying to highlight that this kind of political supremacy made it so difficult for other leaders to speak. In fact, if it happens in Nyanza, it would have been an embarrassment to Raila Amolo Odinga. When I think it is Janet Ongera who was called to speak, the crowd actually denied and refused that he would not speak to them. Why? Because Ongera was handed the ODM certificate directly, avoiding a competition with her counterparts who wanted to vie for woman rep position in Kisii. And this has really brought a lot of lukewarmness and sharp criticism from the Kisii residents. And this played out in itself because Raila watched as she was denied an opportunity to address the very, very people they expect to vote for her. And this is the basis of my argument that Raila Amolo Odinga is not keen to take Martha Karua to his strongholds. Because as we speak in the larger Luo Nyanza, there is a problem that is brewing, and if it is not addressed, then Raila is going to face a kind of humiliation in that area. Let's begin with the issue of issuance of direct nomination tickets. In Homa Bay, Gladys Wanga, in the wisdom of ODM fraternity, they say that they used what we call consensus, where other aspirants came together and endorsed Gladys Wanga. Her fiercest competitor, former Nairobi Governor Evans Kidero, was left out. Kidero claims that he was not part of the negotiations that led to consensus that Wanga was to be given direct nomination. But the ODM fraternity say that Kidero excluded himself. And so there is, and what the ODM did is that they went and took a person they thought would give them problems and made him the running mate to Gladys Wanga. In Homa Bay, as we speak, there is a lot of rebellion undertones. In fact, if you ask the residents of Homa Bay County, there is the county is divided in the middle. There are those who are speaking very openly that they will give Raila Amolo Odinga the presidential votes. Lakini hapa chini, they claim Raila should keep off and let them choose who they want. That is the truth. If you go to Siaya, the senator who is Governor James Orengo, a charismatic lawyer, was handed a direct nomination. So critical was the matter because he's campaigning against Gumbo, who is seen to be, because Gumbo tried his hands in 2017, but he never occupied that office because Rasanga, who was Governor Rasanga, who was vying for the second time, clinched that seat. But Gumbo has come back in full swing. And I'm saying that it was so critical that when the running mate of Mr. Gumbo, the former police spokesperson, Mr. Charles Owino, formed a formidable force with Gumbo, sources say that the system spoke to Mr. Owino to withdraw his support or his candidature as a running mate to Mr. Gumbo. This was seen to be a kind of choreographed plan to puncture Mr. Gumbo, because the two forces, the two gentlemen, Mr. Nicholas Gumbo and Charles Owino, are said to be so powerful because Charles Owino has money. Charles Owino was part of the system because he was a police officer. Mr. Gumbo's record when he was in Rarieda constituency speaks. And very many people, even up to now, still feel that Gumbo is the right man to be the Siaya governor. And so Charles Owino went back to the police force, leaving Mr. Nicholas Gumbo to pick another running mate by the name David Ohito. I think I'm right. You go back to Migori, Ochilo Ayako is facing competition and rivalry from Dalmas Otieno. Dalmas Otieno is a seasoned politician with a lot of experience and a record when he was the member of parliament in Rongo. You come back to Kisumu, the former governor Jack Ranguma is trying to, with a host of other leaders, are trying to wrestle this power from the current governor, Professor Anyang' Nyong'o. And so what is happening is that Raila Amolo Odinga does not want a repeat of what happened in Kisii yesterday. Because what will happen is that Kidero is, for example, is running on an independent candidate, as an independent candidate. But his supporters are the same Raila Amolo supporters. So when a meeting is held, Kidero might be exempt because they will say that he's not part of the ODM or Azimio, yet this Azimio kind of arrangement. But his supporters will be there, and some of them would want to express themselves very loudly. And this might cause embarrassment to Raila Amolo Odinga, because some of them might even want to shout. You can imagine if Martha Karua visits Homa Bay, it is quite in order that the lady who will be by her side is Gladys Wanga. Both of them are ladies, they're women. And so it will be quite in order, for it will be so proper that Wanga will sit next to Martha Karua. But imagine a situation where Gladys Wanga, rises to speak, and then there's some crowd trying to oppose and making noise, Kidero, Kidero, Kidero. This will be it would be an embarrassment, and the opponents will be watching. And this is one of the reasons why Raila Amolo Odinga is not going to take Martha Karua any soon. The issue of direct nomination is my number one reason why Raila is not going to take Martha Karua until they sit together and iron these issues. It is going to happen in Homa Bay because Nyong'o was handed that ticket. It is going to happen in Migori, and it is going to happen in Siaya. And we might just witness people shouting the Azimio candidates, people shouting them down. And this is going to be a kind of humiliation in Raila's backyard. Number two, as the same way it happened to Janet Ongera, people might decide to deny the aspirants an opportunity to address them. My number two point here is the issue of six-piece campaign. If you looked at what happened in Kisii, we have several candidates. We have Sam Ongeri, I think, who is vying with the DAP, and several others who are vying in parties that fall under the umbrella of Azimio. An example is in Migori, where if a meeting is called or there is a rally in Rongo, for example, or in Migori County, Dalmas Otieno would want to be part of that arrangement because he's vying in KANU, and KANU is one of the very affiliate parties in Azimio. In fact, most people believe that for Kalonzo to come back to Azimio, Gideon Moi, who's the party chairman, played a pivotal role. So how are you going to deny Dalmas Otieno a chance to speak? And he has a large following in that area. So they will be shouting perhaps Ochilo Ayako when Ochilo is speaking. And the supporters of Ochilo might even want to retaliate. And so it is going to be very chaotic. Just the same way, it can be very chaotic when the supporters of Wanga and the supporters of Kidero meet. It will be very chaotic. So the other thing is, the Raila team is trying to iron out how they are going to campaign, because the rallying call of 6 piece is not gonna work, ladies and gentlemen. Period. I can assure you, it is not going to work. And if they go ahead and do it, maybe it will be after a lot of consultation. And this is the reason why I am telling the Nyanza residents that they will still have to wait for a little while. Raila will have to consult them and talk to them, so that when you see Raila going to Nyanza, know that these differences have been ironed. The other reason why they might decide to postpone this for a little while, these smaller parties feel that they are being bullied by ODM. Those who are vying under ODM, because this complaint was articulated by the UDM candidate, Mr. Nicholas Gumbo, who is vying under the UDM. UDM is part and parcel of the Azimio. But they're saying that they are not being recognized. Whenever there is an arrangement, they are not being called apart to take the prerequisite conditions and the arrangement before the rally happens. And they are complaining that if this is going to happen, then you could see two camps leading the Raila Amolo campaign in Nyanza. There is one that, as I said earlier, is being recognized. The one that is headed by John Mbadi, who is the chairman, and co-chaired by Governor Ongwae and other team leaders. But just like Simba Arati rebelled, and he had a parallel team co-chaired by people like Richard Onyonka, you could see those who feel disappointed, those who feel that they are not being recognized. You could even see Governor Evans Kidero, Gumbo, Dalmas Otieno. You could see people like Kranguma forming their own parallel committee and saying that we want to welcome you, Baba, in Nyanza County. And you see, when this happens, they also have some followers. And if there is one thing that Raila will not want, is a situation where two camps, the supporters of two camps are now meeting, because there are those ardent supporters, those who are staunch supporters of Raila Amolo Odinga, who would want to counter anybody who is coming between them with Raila. And so if these two camps meet, I can assure you it can be very chaotic, and the opponents are watching. The William Ruto camp would really wish that such a thing happens. Any slightest mistake that will happen, if people fight, if people shout at other leaders in a rally, I can assure you they will pick it like lightning and they will start working with it all over. Just the other day, when Raila talked about Mitumba business and how he wanted to introduce, Kenyan-made textile, the Kenya Kwanza team took it and they were saying that Raila says that he wants to take the Mitumba business people out of the market. You can imagine if supporters clash and they fight, or if any one of the Raila Amolo Odinga candidates, Wanga or Chila Yako or Orengo, is shouted down and people deny him an opportunity to speak, it's gonna be embarrassing. Ladies and gentlemen, I am basing this on what happened in Kisii and the anonymous sources that we have, that Raila Amolo Odinga is trying to iron out issues before he visits Nyanza. That is my take on why Raila Amolo Odinga postponed, because after Kisii, he went back to Kitui. And one would wonder why you campaign in Kisii and just next door is Kisumu or Siaya or Homa Bay or Migori, then you run back to Kitui. We wait and see. Thank you for watching my channel. Be blessed.